Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran and this is Voice of the Global South. All right, then let's get started. On the show this week, India and the UAE make waves in West Asia by ramping up defense ties. We tell you how and why. Trump slams South Africa over Iran joining a naval exercise as US warships head to Iranian waters. And meet a 21-year-old internet sensation who is taking Africa and the world by storm. On 19th January, UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan touched down in New Delhi for a brisk 3-hour engagement with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The frequency of their contacts and their familiarity with each other showed in the manner in which Prime Minister Modi personally received President Sheikh Mohammed at the airport. The warmth was on full display as the two leaders hugged each other and took the by now customary car ride from the airport to the venue of their talks. It was Sheikh Mohammed's 5th visit to India in the last 10 years and his 3rd official visit to India as a president of the Emirates. The joint statement issued towards the end of their talks highlighted the importance of strategic autonomy. Strategic autonomy means a country's ability to make independent foreign and security policies based on its national interests. Now, this phrase, strategic autonomy, is so being talked about in today's increasingly polarized and somewhat volatile world that you think that it will frequently be contained in diplomatic documents. But you'd be surprised to know that the phrase strategic autonomy is contained in India's joint statements with only a handful of countries, such as France. That is important, and we'll talk more on that in just a bit. But coming back to India and the UAE, the two countries signed 5 pacts and made 7 announcements, including a long-term agreement for the purchase of 0.5 million metric tons per annum of liquefied natural gas from the UAE over a period of 10 years starting 2028. Joint development of a special investment region at Dholera in India's Gujarat state to build key strategic infrastructure such as an international airport, a pilot training school, a maintenance, repair and overhaul facility, a greenfield port, a smart urban township, railway connectivity and energy infrastructure. Civil nuclear energy cooperation by making use of a new Indian law to develop and deploy large nuclear reactors and small modular reactors. And the possibility of setting up digital embassies under mutually recognized sovereignty agreements. Now, this is a relatively new entrant into the discourse. Now, having a digital embassy allows a country to extend its sovereign digital infrastructure beyond its own borders while maintaining control over the data. Think of it as a computer network that you install in a foreign country in order to safely store vital data while retaining sovereign ownership of it. But, and this is important, it was something else that most caught the attention of the world. The India-UAE joint statement read, and I quote, "They acknowledge steady and strong bilateral defense and security cooperation as a core pillar of the comprehensive strategic partnership. They welcome the momentum generated by the recent exchange of visits by the respective service chiefs and commanders of the Army, Navy and Air Force of both countries and the successful conduct of bilateral military exercises. They welcome the signing of letter of intent towards the conclusion of a strategic defense partnership," unquote. The last bit attracted wide media coverage. Now, in a changing world, the India-UAE strategic defense partnership signals a shift to a more institutional framework of security cooperation. It builds on recent chief-level visits and joint exercises between the two countries.
Almost a year ago, the UAE Defense Minister and the Crown Prince of Dubai, who was on this visit, by the way, he had visited India. This was a watershed moment in our bilateral defense cooperation. We then elevated the institutional framework of defense dialogue between the two countries to the level of secretaries, vice ministers between the two countries. Our air assets have been regularly participating in the Dubai Air Show. There have been last year alone, if I recall correctly, 3 service chiefs from the UAE have visited India. Our own Army chief was in the UAE not too long ago, I think just earlier this month.
So what will this new strategic defense partnership entail? Let me break it down for you. New Delhi says it will work together with Abu Dhabi to establish a framework agreement and expand defense cooperation across a number of areas, including defense industrial collaboration.
Signed today to work on concluding a framework agreement for strategic defense partnership in order to expand the existing bilateral defense cooperation across a number of areas. And the idea would be to see what else it is that we can do. For instance, we plan to look at defense industrial cooperation, defense innovation, partnerships in advanced technology in the area of defense, as well as expanding the linkages on training, on education, perhaps training between the special forces of the two countries, look at defense threats in the cyberspace domain, counterterrorism, which is an area of interest for both countries. So I would really characterize it as a natural evolution from the already considerable defense cooperation between the two countries.
In other words, expect a comprehensive agreement covering defense industrial tie-ups, such as co-producing weapons and technologies. Think more exercises and more intelligence sharing, all aimed at making their militaries more in sync and resilient. Now, the timing of this announcement is important for a number of reasons. For one, it takes place in the midst of a geopolitical flux sweeping large parts of the world. And therefore, it gives India and the UAE an opportunity to strengthen their strategic autonomy. Here's something worth remembering. Abu Dhabi, much like New Delhi, swears by strategic autonomy. As an article published by the Abu Dhabi-based The National newspaper reads, in a fragmented world, strategic autonomy is the UAE's North Star. It reads, for middle powers, it offers a pathway to reduce polarization, resist zero-sum competition, and expand the space for cooperation in an increasingly divided international system. 2, it allows the UAE and India to build on recent milestones such as the 2022 Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement and the 2023 launch of the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, or the margins of the G20 summit in New Delhi. So in a sense, the proposed strategic defense partnership is all about seizing momentum amid global uncertainty to lock in mutual gains. But it is important for one other reason. The headline of an article published by The New Arab, a London-based pan-Arab news outlet owned by a Qatar-based company, says it all. UAE deepens military ties with India as Saudi rivalry heats up. Here's what you should know. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are competing for influence in Yemen and are backing opposing sides in Sudan's civil war. Recently, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia forged a security alliance with nuclear-armed Pakistan. Now, Turkey says it is keen to join the Saudi Arabia-Pakistan Mutual Defense Pact, turning it into what is billed as an Islamic NATO. Andreas Krieg, an associate professor at King's College London School of Security Studies, tells the New Arab that the letter of intent on the strategic defense partnership with India allows the UAE to diversify its strategic ties. Krieg says that the net effect is to widen the UAE's strategic options and complicate Saudi Arabia's ability to shape South Asian alignments through Pakistan alone, without necessarily pushing the Gulf into a hardened two-camp structure. The publication quotes another analyst, Alex Jalil, as saying that the UAE is building overlapping security alignments with Israel, Ethiopia, and now India that reinforce its influence from the Horn of Africa to the Indo-Pacific. What it signals is that the UAE now views India as a primary partner for maritime security and defense industrial innovation in the Indian Ocean region, moving beyond traditional Western allies. At the same time, it strengthens India's footprint in the Gulf without formal alliance obligations or involvement in regional conflicts, a point that was made by Foreign Secretary Misri. So as we wrap this segment up, the Emirati leader's visit to India was a high-stakes whirlwind tour that packed a punch in strengthening one of Asia's most dynamic partnerships. It was laser-focused on elevating the India-Emirates Comprehensive Strategic Partnership to new heights. The agreement on strategic defense partnership positions the UAE as a key regional ally for India's security and economic growth, while anchoring India as an influential stakeholder in the evolving strategic landscape of the Gulf. South Africa is facing mounting criticism for hosting a naval exercise with a group of countries that included Iran. The drills, named Will for Peace, were held in South African waters. The navies of China, Russia, and the UAE took part in the exercise. India, which is the BRICS chair for 2026, stayed away, calling it a South African initiative rather than an official BRICS naval exercise. Aman Kumar Himanshu reports on why the incident sparked domestic outrage and international concern.
South Africa has launched an inquiry into Iran's participation in a joint naval exercise with certain BRICS member states. Its defense minister confirmed that an authorized board of inquiry has been established to determine whether President Cyril Ramaphosa's instructions to include Iran only as an observer were misrepresented or disregarded, and to establish accountability for the apparent breach. The controversy centers on the Will for Peace exercises held in South African waters between 9th to 16th January, involving naval forces from South Africa, China, Russia, Iran, and the UAE, all of which are members of the BRICS group of countries. BRICS comprises 10 members: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Iran, and the UAE. A South Africa Joint Task Force commander spoke about the importance of international cooperation in maintaining regional and global maritime stability.
Exercise Will for Peace 2026 is more than a military engagement. It is a demonstration of our collective resolve to work together under the theme Joint Actions to ensure the safety of shipping lane and maritime economy activities. In an increasingly complex maritime environment, cooperation such as this is not optional. It is essential.
China led the naval training near the southwestern coastal city of Simonstown, home to a major South African naval base. According to China's Ministry of National Defense, the exercise included rescue drills, maritime strike operations, and technical exchanges, with all BRICS countries invited to participate. India, the current chair of the group, chose not to participate in it. India's Ministry of External Affairs said the drills were neither a regular nor a formal BRICS exercise. It was entirely a South African initiative, and that only some BRICS members participated in it. South Africa's concerns were primarily driven by its precarious relationship with the US under President Donald Trump. The Trump government had already imposed 30 to 40% tariffs on South African exports and threatened a 100% tariff on BRICS nations if they attempted to carry out trade in a currency other than the US dollar. US lawmakers such as Jim Risch accused South Africa of open hostility for hosting drills with America's adversaries. South Africa initially tried to keep the exercise low profile to avoid harming its external trade relations in general and the extension of the African Growth and Opportunity Act by the US in particular. The US law allows duty-free access to the US market. Think of it as a preferential trade program for some African countries. The US House of Representatives has since passed the bill, though there is still a possibility that South Africa could be excluded from it. South Africa's government also faced domestic criticism over the joint naval drills. The Democratic Alliance, which is part of the governing coalition, accused Minister of International Relations Ronald Lamola of failing to hold the Department of Defense accountable. This is not the first time South Africa has been criticized for its military relations with Iran. In August, its military chief prompted anger from the Democratic Alliance when he embarked on a trip to Tehran and affirmed that South Africa and Iran had common goals. His statement came just weeks after Iran-Israel war. He was also reportedly critical of Israel while visiting Tehran. Since assuming office, US President Trump aggressively challenged the BRICS grouping, explicitly accusing the bloc of pursuing what he called anti-American policies. This adversarial stance has placed BRICS member nations in a difficult diplomatic situation, forcing them to balance their commitments to the bloc against the threat of a US economic retaliation. A primary source of tension is President Trump's effort to protect the US dollar status as the global reserve currency. He has threatened to impose 100% tariff on any BRICS nation that attempts to push an alternative to the dollar in international trade. The Trump government has also used social and human rights narratives to pressure South Africa. It has alleged, without evidence though, that South Africa's white minority is being subjected to a genocide. The US established a refugee program for the white Afrikaners wishing to flee to the US. Additionally, the US has condemned South Africa's legal actions against Israel at the International Court of Justice, using these points of contention to further strain bilateral relations. Aman Kumar Himanshu's report for DD India.
A 21-year-old internet sensation is taking the world by storm. Only this time, his stage is an entire continent. From massive crowds in city streets to unexpected stunts at big-ticket football events, he is not just creating content, he is in fact rewriting what it means to go viral. Fans are cheering, cameras are rolling, and millions are watching every unfiltered, unpredictable moment online in real time. Everyone's asking, how does a YouTuber turn a tour of Africa into a global spectacle? Ayushi Ahuja and Aman Kumar Himanshu have more.
21 years old.
Let's go! Let's go!
50 million subscribers.
50 million on my birthday, Chad.
20 African countries in 28 days. And a live audience bigger than the population of some countries. This isn't a Netflix documentary. This is IShowSpeed. Meet Darren Jason Watkins Jr. IShowSpeed is not just touring Africa. He's speed running the continent, one live stream at a time. From the streets of Lagos to the beaches of Cape Town, fans are gathering by the thousands, phones in hand, waiting for a glimpse of the YouTube phenomenon, whose energy seems unstoppable. On 21st January, the tour reached a historic high. Speed turned 21 and hit 50 million subscribers on YouTube live, in the middle of his African journey. Within minutes, clips were everywhere online.
We finally reached 50 million.
Fans called it one of the most insane, unforgettable YouTube celebrations ever. And for IShowSpeed, this wasn't just a milestone. It was a moment that turned his Africa tour into a global spectacle. His loud reactions, athletic stunts, and signature barking have turned him into one of the most recognizable internet personalities of his generation.
Henry, you're up.
Speed kicked off his Africa tour on the 29th of December 2025 with an ambitious plan to cover 20 countries in 28 days. From city streets to stadiums, he moved at breakneck speed, live streaming every moment and drawing massive crowds wherever he went.
At first, I liked him because he was funny and very entertaining. But then, as he started doing these tours, he went to Asia, and then now he came here. It's showing me a different kind of person he is, that he's not just a guy coming to make everyone laugh. He can be a very impactful person, and then he can impact many things happening in the world, even positively.
During his stop in South Africa, Speed told fans and viewers that his mission went beyond entertainment. He wants to show the world what Africa really is, its energy, its culture, and its people, through the lens of his unstoppable and sometimes chaotic live streams. In South Africa, he took to car spinning and learnt the traditional Amapiano dance move. Amapiano is a Zulu word that literally translates to the pianos. It represents a popular South African genre of electronic dance music that emerged in the 2010s. He began as a teenager in the US state of Ohio streaming video games from his PlayStation, first on Twitch and then at a massive scale on YouTube. During the COVID-19 pandemic, confinement worked in his favor. Gen Z and the younger Gen Alpha love his raw, uncensored content, where almost anything can and sometimes does happen live on air. The impact was deeply personal. In Africa, children cried when they hugged him. Online African Americans watched with pride, and African creators felt seen. As Nigerian YouTuber Israel Onyuogaziri said, creators outside Nigeria have changed their view of Africa because of Speed's tour.
Yeah, so Speed's, that's one thing about live streaming. It's unfiltered. So Speed is showing us unfiltered content about Africa. And all we can see so far is all good stuff.
In Eswatini, Speed wasn't just welcomed, he was initiated at the Royal Palace. He received a name, Logiji Mako, meaning the one who runs.
What's my name? Ukejima?
Running.
Speed.
Online fans had their own coronation. They called him Speedani, because once the internet adopts you, it never lets go. IShowSpeed's Speed Does Africa tour did more than entertain. It shifted Western perceptions of the continent. For decades, Africa's story in the West was told through a narrow lens. Images of poverty, conflict, and crisis. Big networks and charity campaigns framed the continent as a place in need of saving. And for many, that was the only story they knew. One of the biggest surprises for Western viewers was how normal, alive, and modern African cities appeared through Speed's live streams. Millions saw young Africans who were stylish, confident, and deeply connected to global pop culture, gaming, and football. Every frame streamed directly from Speed's phone, showcased a continent full of life, energy, and progress. Most importantly, the streams proved that Africa is not isolated. From Lagos to Cape Town and Accra to Nairobi, the continent is deeply integrated into global trends. And Speed's lens brought that reality to millions of viewers who had never seen it before. Speed is also known for his admiration of football legend Cristiano Ronaldo and has become a familiar face at global football events, including the Ballon d'Or ceremony and the UEFA Champions League final. On the 18th of January, IShowSpeed sent the crowds watching the AFCON final into a frenzy in Rabat, Morocco, when he revealed himself as the tournament's official mascot. Fans who packed the stadium for the Morocco vs Senegal final had no idea what was coming when the mascot Assad, the lion, stepped onto the pitch. Until Speed tore off the costume, shocking tens of thousands of spectators. The reaction was instant. Cheers, screams, and chants filled the stadium, while videos of the moment went viral on TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit, with fans calling it one of the most unforgettable creative moments at a major football event. Clearly, Speed's popularity transcends continents, and India is not entirely immune to it either. Last year, he revealed an unexpected ambition during one of his live streams, saying he wants to play professional football in India. He had earlier visited Mumbai during the 2023 Cricket World Cup, where he immersed himself in local culture and played street football with fans. After previously challenging Olympic 100-meter champion Noah Lyles to a race, Speed now appears to be turning his focus toward football. His passion for sports also extends to Indian cricket legend Virat Kohli. In May 2025, Speed went viral for his emotional reaction to Kohli's retirement from Test cricket.
Virat Kohli's gone, chap.
While younger audiences, particularly Gen Z and Gen Alpha, are captivated by his raw, unfiltered energy, IShowSpeed store has faced some criticism. Critics on social media have called it a fleeting spectacle, arguing that it entertains more than it fosters meaningful cultural exchange. Yet Speed's journey shows how a single influencer, guided by his own unique vision, can bridge cultures and bring people together through a shared passion for sports and high-energy entertainment. Ayushi Ahuja and Aman Kumar Himanshu for DD India.
And with that, it's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.